Welcome back to the Stoic Mind channel. Um, as the days have gone by, you guys realize if you watch the news, how many more important things are in life than just dating and these social issues. So the appropriate channels have the place for those things. I will not cover any controversial political views. This channel is about mostly social dynamics, social issues, and I want to keep it like that. But I do acknowledge the greater issues at hand. I'm not ignorant to it. However, that's not my content, that's not my space. I can recommend a few channels in the description that I fully stand with on those political issues. But nevertheless, we're here and let's talk about it. Now, for me, the a thought was coming to my. I had a conversation with my supervisor, and I was saying that um, if men think process things like A and women process things like B, who should surrender and understand each other? Is it a case of women suspending their thought process to think like A, or is it A so men like suspending their thought process to understand B? Because whenever it's one or the other, it tends to be a case of an argument will come up or something like a so it's like either one will suffer to other one lives. I don't agree with that, but we find that that's the case. So for example, I asked my friend that do women how do women practice social awareness, and it's like they don't need it. And it's like why? Women can actually do, and socially they can do anything they want to do. That's whether that's true or not depends on your perspective. um because men sacrifice their social needs to make accommodate for females. We So for example, things that women would do, men would not comment or complain. If a man do them, he comment and complain. I mean, within context, of course. So if a woman comes into a store and start complaining about this and that, he's not going to think she's weird. But if a man start doing the same thing in a certain tone, it's like, yo, what's wrong with this guy? Just stop talking about it and just man up. So that's the thing. We men excuse women for a lot of social errors or social discomforts just to make them feel comfortable. And I'm like, do women do that for men? Not even from a dating point of view, but it's like even in a work environment, like, do women say to themselves, okay, he's just being logical. That's why he seems um like like so cold. That's why, because he's been logical. Like, are women trying to understand our thought process, not perspective, because that's a different conversation and it's right or wrong depends on who you are and depends on the context, if you ask me. But I'm just thinking, do we try to understand how we perceive things? Meaning that, okay, she's doing that or she came to that conclusion because this is her thought process. I may not agree with it, I may not understand it, but I do understand why. That is her thought process. So instead of bashing it, instead of stigmatizing it, let me, because I understand why she came to that conclusion or why she did what she did, let me try to relate and say, hey, I understand why you did that. To you it may seem like the best option, but from where I'm standing, and this is my perspective, it looked like XYZ. Or just leave it alone. Okay? When things happen, I think curiosity is a lost art. I think people are not curious. And for me personally, that is how I judge people. How curious are you? Are you when you find something you don't understand, are you curious to find out why is it the way it is before I judge it? So when some people do some weird shit, my first thought being is not to bash it or my first thought being is to think about it. Why did that person did what they did? Why did they think that that was the best option at the time to make that move? Because to me that makes no sense. Curiosity is the core of intelligence for me. Curiosity is always not the only core of core character of intelligence, because intelligent people always want to learn. So to be always want to learn, you need to have that curiosity. But I think people are just nowadays days are more stuck up in their own ways, or think their judgment is supreme, so they don't try to understand each other's perspectives. So like even today, I'm at work, my supervisor is acting like XYZ. I'm like, okay. Let's see why she did what she did. Let me see why, some things were done or some things. I'm like, okay, there's a pattern. Okay, here we go. So that's her thought process. That gives me a perspective I never had, because my mind is my perspective and I just go about my perspective. But because something wasn't in line with my perspective, or something wasn't in line with my thought process, there was confusion. My natural thought process was not to bash it or to criticize it or to hate it. My first thought process was to say, okay, let me see where she's coming from, because I don't understand it. And the more I think about it, the more I think about other situations that have similar outcomes or similar patterns. Okay, this happened before the action, and something similar happened before this action, and something similar happened before this action. So, so it's only done in a certain mood. So when a certain mood appears, it means this will happen, because on three different occasions the supervisor was in this. So like you pick up on patterns, and again, nothing is set in stone, so things can change. So the person can be in a good mood and act a certain way. People can be in a bad mood and act a certain way. It's always about that curiosity. Always be willing to learn different perspectives. For me, it's the best way. I saw in one of those snips on IG. He was asking a spy, and I think one of the spies that some Boston guy with some puff hair. By the way, I've never seen a spy show, and the guy has like afro hair. Never seen it before. I take it that when he was in job, he has low hair. But anyways, that's not the point. He said, the interview asked him, what's one trick that as a spy you learn that can drastically improve people's lives? And he said this: we naturally live life in our own perspective, because we are in our own minds. But one of the best skill to have is to have a third person perspective, like an empty person, like somebody who is not in the conversation and have a bird's eye view of the situation. What would the situation look then? So take yourself out of yourself and view the situation from a third person perspective. I try to understand both parties. Well, you understand yourself, but understand the other person. So for example, someone who doesn't like something at a level that I don't understand will have like a huge like nah, 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 like they'll go on the top of their voice, but it's because you don't understand what that thing does to that person. Doesn't make their reaction any less meaningless or meaningful. It's just that, okay, you're reacting like this for a reason. So for me, I'm like, okay, you hate football, so you reacted like that. It's not me that you hate, because you don't have a reason to hate me, or maybe you do, but we get to self-centered reasons, that's self-centered conclusions. That's the last resort. And I wish more people like that. Like people who think everything is about them, but leave that for last. Leave that for last. So let's think about situations or social situations where there's conflict. Let's take it personal. That's the last option. So something happens and you're like, okay, you hate football, that's fine. Why do you hate football? Maybe that she dated some guy who was addicted to gambling, who was gambling on football matches, and that's why she hates him. Now, if she lost her relationship because of that, you're gonna hate football. I understand. You don't need to that. But yeah, and another principle that I follow, and I love this principle, and I want to share this with you guys, is that people don't do anything unless it benefits them. Unless it benefits them, they wouldn't do it unless it benefits them. So whether it's a hater or it's a doubter, whatever it is, like whatever they're doing that's an inconvenience to you, it's more convenience for them then it's an inconvenience for you. Let me say that one more time. So when somebody does something that's an inconvenience to you, bear in mind it's more a convenience for them than it is an inconvenience for you. Let me explain. I'm not talking like in the physical realm. So for example, if someone left something in the way and that interferes with you, that comfort of being lazy to not move it gives more dopamine than they want to inconvenient you. That's true. No one wants, if it's on a scale, no one wants to be an inconvenience to you more than it's a convenience to them. So no one will do anything unless it benefited them. So if someone did something that's an inconvenience to me, I'm just like, there's some way that this was a convenience to you. Either emotional satisfaction, whether it's a mental release or emotional release, or it's a vengeance or revenge, like there's always some benefit that comes with each and every action. So whenever I get inconvenient to something, it's like, okay, how is this person being benefited from me being in this position that they have put me in, and from their perspective? That's why I don't jump to conclusions. That's why I don't think everything is about myself. So, for example, anytime I have conflict with myself, I always think of, no, I don't think about, oh, this person's a hater, oh, this person's my enemy, oh, this person, whatever, whatever. No, that's again, that's last resort. My first thought being is like, okay, this is an inconvenience to me. How is it convenient for you? Because you did this thing that made it inconvenience for me. However, it must be a case that it's a more convenience for you than like your intention was to be more inconvenience for you or more beneficial for you than it's a disadvantage for me. Because in my life, this is why I have no haters. I don't have any haters. I genuinely don't have any haters. And I probably have doubters, but when I have doubters, I probably gave them a reason to doubt, which is fine. You're not the best in the world, so you need to take your L's when you get them. And if L's are needed, L's are needed. If someone gives you an L but it's not really an L, you either move on or talk to them direct. So, anyways, reason I said that because anybody that looks like a hater is putting themselves first above me. That's not a hater. For me, a hater is someone who would come out be an inconvenience to them to be an inconvenience to me. Anybody who does that, I respect it. That's true haters. Like I hate, for example, when I said an inconvenience to them to be an inconvenience to you, it's a case of I am late for work. I've been written up multiple times for being late to work, and I will lose my job if I'm late to work again. And this is the best job I ever had in my 20 years of working. And even so, I am willing to be late just to be an inconvenience to you, so you don't have clean shoes when you go into work, even though you can clean your shoes right before work. I am willing to dirt up your shoes. That's easy to clean at the risk of my job. If I meet anyone who's like that, yeah, I got respect for you guys. I swear, that's real haters. That's a real enemy. That's the real enemy. When I see that shit, I do not know what to do. I just respect it. I stayed far from you, of course, but I respect it. I'm like, you're willing to sacrifice your job just to make sure my shoes are dirty? Well, first of all, you're going through a lot as it is, clearly. So let's just leave you be. Let's leave you be. Karma will know what to do with you. And also, as it pertains to understanding other people's perspectives, I think it goes both ways. I think it goes both ways. I think because just as much that is true for hate, that is also true for love. Like true love is benefiting you more so than it benefiting me. And it becomes a balance because my feelings for you will release dopamine because I've done something for you, and because of my perspective of you. I say for let's put some units on this. Say for um, action A is 60 units of energy and time. 60 units of energy, and you have 60 units of dopamine. When you use 60 units of energy and get 60 units of dopamine, that's an even trade-off. That's you get what you work for. You're paid a certain amount of hours, you get paid for the exact hours. That's 60 units of energy and time to 60 units of dopamine. All right, that's that's breaking even. That's bare minimum because people want to be efficient. Efficient is like 30% of energy and getting 80% of dopamine. That's ideal, but breaking even is not so bad either way. Like people want to have leverage, but bear with me as I explain this. I think love, when you truly love somebody, you're willing to give them 80% or 80 units of energy, time, resources, and the physical outcome is 20% dopamine, but the love you have for them turns out 20%, 20%, 20 units of dopamine to 80 or to 60. That's what love is. That's why love is selfish, it's selfless, because I'm putting in more than I am getting out. That's what love is. But the balance is the love itself, because I love the person. I'm able, it makes up for the lack of the value. However, simping is that's very close to simping, and I want to touch on that. I will never understand. I cannot understand simps, but I will never justify it because you cannot love somebody who you don't know. You cannot love someone who you don't have a relationship with. I don't think you can love somebody who you don't know. I can't. I I can't. There's female celebrities I used to love when I was younger. Okay, it always felt pathetic because I didn't. These people didn't know me, and I didn't know these people. And when I say no, I don't mean like no off, but I meant like no directly. You can only love someone when you know them. And when I say know them, not their weaknesses, not their strength, but have a connection with them. I don't think you can love someone without a connection. So that's my thing. I say if you understand all of that, that's like the ground basis of fully understand each other perspectives. And I think understanding is like also a lost art because everybody loves to play victim now these days. So it's like, what's the point anymore? Well, just understand each other's perspective. All right, try to understand each other's perspective, then come to a conclusion. Sometimes, even if you're understanding each other's perspective, you still come to the same conclusion. That's fine. Just know that when you try to understand each other's perspectives, now you understand why you come to that conclusion.